Greetings, everyone. This is Chris over at SkyTech Enterprise Solutions. In today's video, we take a look at our HR consultation portal app, which we started a couple of days ago. This project is ongoing. I guess we've barely scratched the surface of what all we need to do. We did take a look at our business and functional requirements, and got a sense of what needs to be done. So without further ado, we will go ahead and actually uh, begin, continue doing some work on this app. All right, so let's get into it. All right. Now, as we all recall or remember, if you did watch the previous video, um, we basically laid out our pages or screens in a sense, and that includes our manage issue types screen, our manage users screen, um, our view cases screen as well. And I believe we did have our submit screen already, which is basically a form. All right. And at some point we will have, so this is submitting a new case, which is basically a new form, right? New item form. And then eventually we'll have an edit form as well. We proceeded to, I think we did add the delete functionality to issue types gallery over here. So let's double check that. So once you click on that, you can see your PowerFX code here applied to this delete icon. So I'm gonna change the name of this icon to I'll call it IC delete, right? Something like that. And then for this one, I'll call that IC edit. All right. Additionally, these buttons, I really need to do something to do much better with the look and feel. And I have in mind a design scheme that we'll be applying a little down the road, or a little, downstream. For now, I want to focus on getting the wiring the app to work properly on every screen, making sure things work, and then the design work will come after functionality. But I'll sprinkle some design work in between the videos as well. Okay, so here we have these two buttons. They're very rounded. They have very rounded corners, and I'm not a big fan of that. I like rounded corners, as you see here, but not so much. If we look at the border radius, which is basically the rounded corner setting, so once you click on this radius here, that property appears here as well, and then you can select what number in terms of intensity. So I want to reduce this to about 5 point. I don't know if it makes much of a difference for you to look at. Let's do that here. So we'll do border radius. We'll just set it to 5. Right? You see it's more squared. And I'll do the same here. Oops, I think I did change the radius top left, which is here, right? That's the top left, that's the top right, and that's the bottom left, and that's the bottom right. So if we were to go, so that's radius top left. If we were to do radius top right and change that to 5, you'll notice that now it's more square than round on this edge. So that's something to, consider when it's time to do design work. And we'll probably use that feature on these buttons up here. But for now, I'm going to set the radius, the border radius in general to 5 for both. And as you can see, once I went in and selected both buttons, this border radius setting switched to multiple uh, setting, as opposed to if I were to click just one, then the border radius will just be for that button itself. All right, so we'll go back here and I'll leave this. I think this was at 10. All right. Well, you know what? I'll save myself some time. I'll do a copy paste of this guy. I'll go over here, copy the code from this guy, paste it on that, and probably, well, it's not named yet, so that's fine. I'll just do this here in the interest of time, right? Sometimes you just don't need to troubleshoot everything. You can just fix the issue and move on. All right. So I have these two buttons here, semi-bold, a little the text. I need to really sit down and do some theme work in terms of design here. All right, but this looks decent. It looks okay. Let me make sure I did not lose my functionality. So I can add a new issue type. So we'll call this new issue type. And once I add it, it should be, I'll just say 100. And once I add that, it should appear here, right? So that is awesome. So that's good. I can also delete it and it's gone. Okay, awesome. Now, you notice that when I added the issue type, this form went back to a blank, and I'll show you, I'll test it with you right now. It goes to no item to display, and then I had to reset it using this button. So this code here on select, it basically resets the form. So now what I'm going to do is once I do a submit form, okay, I want to reset the form after my submit. That way, this form always looks ready for data entry. So again, actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go back. Okay. I there's something that I found. I just so happened. We might work on that, but let's keep it moving here. All right, so here we'll do another test issue, and I'll add it. Boom. So now the test issue was added, but you notice that the form reverted back to being ready for data entry or open for data entry. So that problem is technically solved. We'll be moving on to something different. All right, so at the moment, my delete button works, but my edit button does not. Okay. So I want to be able to click, select one of these issues, and basically make a change to the issue and then save it into this list. So, and again, this list here is, if you go back to my data sources, you'll see that if I go and edit data, that list appears here. Okay. So the whole idea is when I click on edit, a little screen will appear somehow, and I can go in and make a change to that interface and save the record. So now that I have this form available already, I'm simply going to copy it, right? So I'm going to do a copy and a paste. Excuse me. Move it down here, and we'll call this form FRM edit. issue. Okay. And when I go to edit this record, I want to set this form to basically edit mode, right? And then I can go in and type what I need to type. Okay. So first we're gonna copy the name of that form, and then we're going to go to our edit icon. When I do the on select action on that icon, I want to first set that form to into an edit form. I'm basically going to edit that form, right? So the command here is to edit this form. Okay. Now, once I, so in a nutshell, right, within PowerApps, I'm calling this form directly. So wherever it's living, it's going to obey this command, right? I'm editing it. Once I do that, I'm also going to navigate. Well, actually, if this form was on another screen, then I would navigate to it. But for now, it's not. Okay, so I'm just simply going to edit and just have it be that. And this form is going to receive the item from this gallery. Okay, so this gallery is gallery 2. Gosh, I wish I had a better name for it. You know what? I think I can do that. So we'll call this gal. And then what? Issue types. So issue types. Okay, I think that's fair, right? So this form is going to receive whatever is selected from that gallery, right? So now if I go in and I click on test issue appears. If I click on 000, 000 appears. So essentially, this is a very quick and simple way of actually doing this. There are other ways of doing it. You can save this value into a variable and have that variable appear here as the item property of that um, form. Okay, so we've practically or basically laid out the mechanism to actually edit a record in here. Now we also need to be able to save, right? We need to save that record to the list. So in this case, it's simply going to be a submit form. As you notice, this button is containing a submit form from here, the submit form code from this form that I selected or copied it from. But in this case, we're going to use our FRM edit issue, and we're going to do well, there it is. I guess once I edited the name of it, PowerApps was smart enough to change it. So let's give it a shot. Okay. So now let's see if I do a reset, does it affect it? So this is awesome. So if I went in here and did a test and I reset it, it resets. If I go in here and I do a test, it resets it. Okay, that is awesome. So now let's add a new, so we'll call this the latest issue type. All right, let's see if it does appear here. Submit. And voila, there it is. Okay, so it looks like our work here is done. We can add New items, we can edit existing items. We can delete. Well, we can add new. We can edit what we already have, and we can delete what we already have. Now, the only issue here is that where, we can't really have this interface appear here on this page. It's kind of cluttering it. So I kind of want to do something like a little pop-up, to paste this on, right? So we block out everything and then you see only this part. So we basically need to insert a text label here because I want to put a message here and it will say edit uh, existing or edit selected issue type. All right, so we'll do this, keep it here, probably make it semi-bold and center it. Make this one semi-bold and center it as well. So we have something nice going on here in terms of formatting. Um, again, here we'll call this one edit issue type. Have some differentiation. And what I'm going to do is insert a rectangle. And I'm going to make it a color black. And I'm going to sort of reduce the or increase transparency, right? Make it kind of opaque-ish. You still want to be able to see the rest of the screen, but we're kind of blocking things out a bit. Okay. And I'm going to call it RCT issue types. Issue types. Because we'll end up having more rectangles like that on the other screens. Okay. RCT issue types. And so now what we need to do is what I want to do next is to group these three items here. So we have our little label, right? And we can call it, I typically don't bother too much about labels, but we can call it LBL edit issue type, right? So now we're back. So what I'm going to do is hold control, oh, sorry, shift on my keyboard. Oh, here. So which one is it? All right. I'm just going to select all these guys here. So we have that, that, and that selected. And I believe I can select this as well. And I'm going to group them so it's easy to edit together and layer as well. So I'll call this GRP edit issues. Okay. So GRP for group. All right. So now when you begin to move them around, they kind of move together. Okay. So I'm going to move this all the way down. And now it's time to select them individually and kind of move them around a bit. So I'm going to move this over here and I'll do a bring to front. And I'll do this, drag this form as well. And I'll do a bring to, oops, I think I got it wrong here. Well, let me do an undo a few times, go back. Come on. Let's see if I can do another undo. Undo. All right, where's my label? LBL. Okay, there it is. So reorder will bring to front. Okay, is it? Yep, so there it is. So again, I'm going to group, well, let's try something really crafty here. Um, I know this group already exists, but I still need to be able to do some layering. You'll see what I I end up with. All right, so first we're going to group these three items. Actually, let me ungroup, right? So that's how you do your ungrouping. So we're going to group these and we'll call them first, we'll call them GRP uh, edit issues controls. Okay, call it that for now. And when I move it over this dark background, I want to bring this forward. Essentially, I want it to be above like that, right? Above the black, the darkened screen on the background there. So now it's time to move this guy all the way down. I don't know why my label keeps hiding back there. Okay, I think it's up here now. All right, awesome, awesome. And I think I'm missing something else that I need to do. Well, I'll tell you what, go back here this way. I'll do another rectangle. And this one will be all white. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that these guys are all sitting on top of it. Right. So we have one, grab, oops, bring them all down, bring this white rectangle up or down. And then now we are going to do another reorder, break to front. Okay. So here is my final outlook. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to do is to make sure that this guy is all the way back there like that. So once you click on delete, once you click on edit, right, you're getting a pop-up that says edit the selected issue. Okay. So there is that feature that I want. So now the next step is to hide, well, not really. The next step is to really bind all these together, like all these controls. So we have this, right? And then we have that. And then we have the new white background here. So we'll call this rectangle, RCT, white square, maybe. Or we'll call it blank, blank square, like that. Okay, so now we want to bind all these guys together. So that's going to be a little, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Let's see. So if we can bind that, okay, so that's good. Then we bind this guy, and then we say group. And then now we're going to call this GRP. We'll call this one edit pop up. So we'll call this edit issues, right? So now I can actually consider this to be one unit, right? It's one item. So if I go like that, it selects the whole thing. All right. Now I have a problem right now. How do I turn this thing off? How do I hide it, right? Um, I can turn off the visibility, right? It's gone. But um, I need to be able to set it so that it's visible only when I click on the edit icon. So I have to have a variable that once I click on the edit icon, that variable gets turned on. And then this screen here, this, whatever we worked on, this pop-up, visibility is tied to that variable. So if the variable is one, then yes, the pop-up should appear. Okay, so let's try something here. So the visibility of this We're going to go from true to, let's try something here. So I'm gonna comment out true, right? And I'll say var um, edit screen true, right? True, something like that. Var edit issues true, right? All right. And this is we're building variables, so anything goes pretty much. Um, I'll go to my I'll go to my edit icon, and I'm gonna basically comment out that piece of code, right? So here I'm going to do an on select, right? So if on select, we'll do um, we need to create a variable, but this variable has got to be a local variable, right? So it's going to be local to the screen only. A context variable is what they call it, not a global variable. Okay. Right. And how do you basically create a context variable? This is how you do it. Update context. Actually, yeah, I think this variable needs a different name here, so we'll do that, and we'll do true. Okay. Now, with the context variables, you need to encase them in curly braces. So basically, what we're saying here is once I click on this button or this icon, we want to set var edit issues to true, right? And when var edit issues is true, then the visibility of that, right, of that the pop-up itself becomes true, right? So you're saying make the pop-up visible if uh, var edit issues equal true, basically. So this name has got to go. So let's check it out, see if it works. All right, it does work. Now, how do I turn it off? So I guess we'll need a new button here because think about it. I can go and try to edit, right, and have this thing pop up. Everything's good to go. I can either edit the issue type. Yeah, I don't want to be able to reset it and set it to blank. So I guess this button will be to turn off the value, right? So the on select, we're going to comment out this code, and we'll simply do um, so the first time we set the value of var edit issues to true. This time around, we're going to set it to false. We're going to end it with the curly braces and close out the update context command itself. All right, let's see if it works. So now I come over here. I'm like, hey, I want to edit this. It pops up, and then I say, oh no, I'm not interested anymore. Click. Now it's gone. Right. I want to edit this. It pops up. Oh no, I'm not interested. I click this and it's gone. So that functionality is laid out properly. Now let's go make some edits here. So here I'm just going to say cancel. I changed my mind, right? Um, no need to waste all this real estate. So I'll shorten that button. And then mind you, we're not getting our selected record here. And that's simply because where's my items? Yep, right. That's because, well, it's supposed to, I think it's wired correctly. There's something that I need to fix over here. So, um, let's see. What am I missing? If I go to cancel, so if I select this guy, it does open. All right, so let's go see what code is sitting on here. All right, let's see if we can change that, uncomment it, and now it works. So as long as you call out that form by name and give it that command and say, edit form, what's your name, right? PowerApps will find that form and apply this command to it or this function to it. Um, so let's actually test this out. I want to delete this 000. I don't need it. Get rid of test issue. I don't need it. Latest issue type, that was a test item. So here I'll say, well, this one I don't need either, right? So we'll say other. And here I want to say other issue type, right? So let's see if it works. I want to make sure we're done with this screen here. I'm guessing this button should say save, right? But let's test it first. Voila, it did change, right? But now we're still stuck with this pop-up. So somehow we need to turn off the visibility of this pop-up after we, commit our changes. So here, I'm just gonna put the text here and say save changes. I think that's fair. I don't know if you have something better, let me know. Um, all right, how did this pop-up appear? What's the visibility that turned it on? VAR edit issues. Technically, this should say if VAR edit issues is true. That's what it should say. But for some reason, if you type VAR edit issues itself, it accepts it. Let's see if you type true in here, if it'll accept it as well. It looks like it will, right? PowerFX is cool like that. Um, so what makes this screen disappear? It's by turning the variable off, setting that variable to off mode, right? And again, so I'll just add some comments here, and this is how you do comments in Power Apps or Power FX. So this comment basically says set our edit issues variable to false, right? Just like that. And that is what hides this pop-up. So in order to, after we save our changes, we want to set it, right, to false. We want to set that variable to false. So again, I'm going to go back to on select. So first we're submitting the changes from here. Then we're resetting the form so it doesn't look blank, right? And then we're going to turn this whole thing off, the pop-up, which is basically a group over here. We're going to turn it off by using that variable. Now, how do I add more code? I need to put this um, semicolon, and then we're basically going to update context of this var edit issues variable to false. Okay. All right. So let's go back. And here I'm going to say, uh, gosh, I want to make a change. So let's do something here. I'm just going to add a new um, issue type, some random issue type, right? Add issue type. Here we go. It's right there. And I'm going to edit this guy. See, now we have mine. So I cannot click on anywhere on the screen except this part here. And here it is, some random issue type. So I'm going to call it a very important issue type. I'm going to save changes, and it's supposed to close this pop-up. And it's going to save the changes and close the pop-up. So let's see if it actually does that. Done. All right. So this functionality, we're going to apply that to here as well, and probably to our submit new case screen as well. Now, um, if I were to come here and click on this button, and this is blank, let's see what happens, right? Nothing. You said nothing. Okay. But, this needs to be a required field because um, you can't really just leave this hanging out there like that. And now the question is, where is my required um, option, right? Is there a required option on here? Not sure about that. Let's see if there is. Required. Okay, it's true. So I guess that's why it's not allowing you to submit, but you're still going to need an error message, right? Something has to jump out at you and say, hey, this is blank and you can't submit a blank, right? It's gotta yell at you somehow. All right, to be continued on that. Okay, but these are things that you should know how to do, and you should know that you need to do. Okay, I gotta be honest, I don't like the way these things look over here. These buttons, they just, I don't like the color. It's very, it's that kind of blue. I don't know. It reminds me of the old. This is a brand of pen that was prevalent in the 90s, and it had this very bland, flat blue, you know. Um, right. So maybe what we should do is, hmm, yeah, I have an idea. I'm gonna make all these. I'm gonna give them a square corners, basically. I think this looks way better. And then I'm going to pretty much butt them against each other like that. Okay, I got to work on my design skills here, buddy. Let's see. It looks slightly better, right? The whole idea is to change the colors once you mouse over them and once you click on them, you know. Yeah, this looks a whole lot better. So, I mean, you can build a component out of this and kind of so it becomes usable in on every location that you drop it onto. So that's one way to do it. But for now, let's see if I can come up with something. Semi-bold. Just do normal. I think normal looks better, and then maybe the color has to be something like that. Yeah, something nicer. Yep. Well, not sure if it's even nicer. It's just different. It gives us a little bit of a contrast. But yeah, definitely some work needs to be done on the look and feel. Right now, I just want to be able to, just want to be able to bear looking at all these items over here. Okay. Well, I think this is good for now. I can actually work with this, right? So what am I going to do next? I am simply, right. I'm simply going to copy these guys. Well, I think I have an issue here, right? So the all these buttons need to sit on the same y-axis. 88 seems to be a good place for all of them. This guy just is somewhere else on its own. I'm going to type 88 here, and then it obeys the setting. Do 88 as well over here. Hit enter. And now they're all sitting on 88, which gives me some uniformity. So I'm going to select. Uh, so I'm holding control on my keyboard and I'm just going to select, I'm going to copy, and I'll simply go on each screen and paste them there, right? So these guys are history. Oops. One guy wants to stick around, and then I'll simply paste these new hits on the block over here. I think I'm missing something. Yeah, what's my vertical? What's my vertical? What's my vertical? Let's see something here. Yeah, okay. I think we're good. Uh, these 80, yep, I swear, I could tell they were not 88. So 88, hit enter, done. Copy them again. And then I go to view cases, copy these, delete, and now I paste those guys over. I don't know, I could group them as well, but in the end, we'll turn this into a component. But like I said, we're starting from basic and we're powering our way through um, to I guess somebody could say perfection, but you know, functionality. Okay. So I think we're in a better place now. Also, this blue color here, I think I'm going to change it to the same blue color on the other side. It looks a little nicer. All right. Yeah. Okay. We're doing something here. All right. So now if I go to edit, I get this nice pop-up. And when I hit cancel, it goes away. Also, go to when I go to basically delete an item, I want to have it some, kind of a pop-up that says, "Hey, do you want to delete this item?" Right? Instead of just deleting it right away. So that's something we'll also work on. Let's go over to manage users, and I think we should have the same functionality here, right? Here, I think you can delete a person. Oh, I don't think I've wired these guys yet. Okay, so that's work to do. And all right, let's get into it. Again, I'm not sure if I want to copy all this stuff over to the other side, right? So we may have to build it from scratch. All right. Um, okay, let's do it. So we go over here. So the whole idea is when I click on edit, I want to have the same pop-up, this one here, display, so I can at least change the role as well as well, no, I think we need to lock in the display name. Only the role should be editable, right? So let's go back into development mode. And again, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here, but obviously these guys need a little bit of polishing, I guess. Oops. Okay, so I'm simply going to copy. Yeah, sometimes it's a little tough to do the copy action. So copy on my keyboard, Control C and Control V on my keyboard to paste. Takes a little bit of time. And we drag it down. Okay, now while they're still together, I think I'm going to group. Oops, I spoke too soon. All right, let's try this again. And right click. Hey, what's happening? What is happening? No, I just want to group you guys. Okay, there we go. So now I can group them. I'm going to call them GRP um, edit user controls. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so these guys are all together, so that's great. Um, so if I drag it over here, yeah, I'm still gonna need that white background, right? So we'll do an insert, get a nice little rectangle here, give it a white background. We'll call it RCT blank um, edit USR, something like that, right? Bring this down, and this group, where's my group? Reminds me of that character. I am grouped. What did I call it? All right, I think I did call it GRP something. So this is where you do your search. Well, here, this is a different search, but within the screens, you can type whatever you want and it'll take you somewhere. So here we are on Manage Users screen, and this is my group, right? I got them right here. Now, my rectangle is still here. So when I select the group, I want to be able to tell the group to reorder itself and bring to front, right? So now the white background is behind it. That is awesome. Um, so now I want to group that white background to the first group, right? So, well, but before I do that, let's do this. I'll insert rectangle. This will be the faded black color, right? So we go here, kind of block out a little bit everything in the background, and we'll call this one RCT. What did we call the other one? Um, uh, what name did I? Anyway, so we'll call this one RCT pop-up. um, out, right? PR background, RCT pop-up. So, but it's RCT, it's rectangle edit user, right? So RCT edit USR pop-up background, something like that. Okay. So now let's go back to, so we'll close this search, right? Return where we were. Now I'm going to select my group. No, that's not the group. All right. Let me find my group again. That's my group. And I need to find this white color, this background here. This is going to be a challenge. So this is group edit USR controls. Okay. All right. So again, once you select an item on here, it appears over here. So this is my white background, and this is my group. So it's my group. That's my white background. And I'm going to group these guys together, right? So that's another group, and we'll call this GRP um, pop up all. Okay. It's another name I just made up. So now I can drag and drop these guys all together. Okay. You notice when I drag them over to the shaded background, this pop-up interface is hiding behind that screen. I want to arrange it so that it's in the front, right? So now it looks better. Then I'm simply going to grab this background and move it all the way down. I'm going to increase, yeah, so decrease the opacity a little bit so so that this interface actually stands out. Okay, so we have our pop-up and now we have our background. And guess what? I am going to group them as well. And we'll call this one GRP, uh, manage users finale, right? Boom. I made up another name. Now let me save my project after all that work. All right, look at that. It gives me a save date and a timestamp. Ain't that great? All right, so this guy is visible now. Um, remember we said that for the display name, well, I'll tell you what, we'll get to it. So here, what we're doing is we're edit user permissions, right? Simple as that. Simple as that. That's all we're doing. Save. And again, I don't like naming labels because there's 1,000 of them, and you know they sometimes they need names, sometimes they don't. All right, cool. Let's set the visibility of that group. GRP manage users finale to instead of true. Again, we'll comment this code out. That's how we comment PowerFX. So we'll call it var for variable, and so we'll call it edit USR pop up, just like that. And we'll say equals true, right? So when it's equal true, then you display it. And so now we need we need an action to make that pop up true. And that's our edit icon, right? Luckily, the onSelect property here is really vacant. So we just come in here and we're going to do an update context. So basically we're setting the value of this variable. And how do you set a context variable? You don't do equals, you just put a colon. So as long as I click on this and this variable gets set to true, then our little screen should pop up, right? It should pop up just like that. Oops, got this little cold that's bothering me here, but um, yeah. And again, we're back to the same issue we had on the previous screen, right? How do we get this to disappear? The best way to do it, again, we need to make this, we need to be able to say cancel. And on select, we should be able to say, I don't like deleting code, so I'll just, what's the word? What happened here? I'll just comment it out. All right, so we want to set this var edit pop-up user to false, right? So we'll do another update context, open bracket, curly brace, and we are going to set it to false like that. All right, let's see if this works. So if I come in here, I want to edit offshore dev like that. It shows up. I can say, no, I changed my mind. Goodbye. Right, so again, the functionality works. Okay, so now we need to make sure that when I get here, I'm actually editing the name that I clicked, right? So I'm going to hit cancel and go back into dev mode. click on the icon. And let's see something real quick here. So this is the form that we're going to edit. That form right here. Okay. So somehow we need to set it to edit mode like we did with the other, um, one, right? Maybe, maybe not, but we'll see in a second here. Um, the main point here is that the screen that we're going to look at has to have the record that we want, right? So that's what we need to do, right? It has to have the record that we want. All right. So two things, right? Here's our form. Now its data source needs to be, where we're getting our users from, which is fine. Roles. Okay. This is roles right here. So if I go that way and edit data, you'll see that the roles are showing, right? We have the person's name and then the role. So that's good. The item um, property needs to be, so I'm going to go back into play mode here, hit cancel. This gallery, right? Whatever is selected in here needs to be the item of that form. So we're going to call this one, uh, we'll call this gallery current users, right? Current users, something like that, USRS. Okay. Hope I didn't break anything else. Let's make sure my functionality works. Everything's good. Can I add someone new? Add. Okay, good. So we're good, right? But the bottom line is if I come here and click that, this form should be able to capture the data from here, from that gallery that I just clicked. So how are we going to do that? We're going to go back here, display that form, and the item. Gosh, I think I did not copy the name of this gallery. So I got it now, and I open this, close it, go into dev mode, and I say that gallery dot selected. All right, so whatever I selected should appear. I think we'll run into some issues, but we'll see in a second how to fix them. All right, so it works. It works, but it doesn't work. Like we can't really see what we're supposed to be seeing. Okay, and we'll fix that in a heartbeat. But let's find out why it's not working. All right. So we have a puzzle to solve, right? So we've been able to make sure that we have a nice little pop-up, but somehow it's not displaying the names that I have selected, right? So if I go and select offshore dev, it's still stuck on Elvis Presley, which is not what I want. So, um, oh, I saw something. What I need to do, hold on a second. Yeah, it's not functioning how I need it to. So this form, this little form here is really pulling correctly from this gallery, whatever I clicked. That's the item property. And then the data source is also correct. It's coming from the roles list. Um, the problem I have here is that it's set to new, right? Because we really want to edit this screen here, right? And alternatively, I could have gone here and set that screen or set that form to edit mode here after I probably before I did my pop-up, updated my variable. But it's all about how you're flowing with the app itself in terms of development. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to turn this into edit mode instead of new. Okay, save that. And if I come down here to click on Elvis Presley, it should be Elvis Presley. If I come down here to click on offshore dev, it should be offshore dev. Right now, we're not really trying to change the name of this person. We're just changing their permissions. So I think it makes sense to turn this into some kind of sort of either disable it or make it, something of that nature. So here I'm going to select that control and then set the display mode to something like that, right? So what display mode I want it to be. I can set it to view, right? Or disabled. Let's see what looks better. Disabled. All right. No, disabled just looks like, look, this thing is out of business, all right? So we'll just do a view mode. And let's see. Yeah, view, you can't really type. You cannot change it. If I go back to Chris, can't change it. If I go back to Elvis, you cannot change it. So that's good, right? And here we're not adding a new user, we're editing. Oh, we basically want to say save changes, right? All right. Problem number two, this guy is not is not cooperating, right? So if I come in here and I click on offshore dev, offshore dev is an administrator. So this should say admin as well. How do we fix that? Let's go find out. Remember when I first created these forms from scratch, I went to go do an insert form. And when I connected it to the data source, automatically PowerApps basically chose a combo box, right, for one of these drop downs. That was probably the other controls or the other screen, but that's what happened. No, I think it's this one. So I ended up having to change it to a drop down, right? This is a drop down, just so I could accomplish what task I wanted to accomplish. Sometimes you have to do that. But in this case, I need a combo box, right? Combo box plays better with what I'm trying to do, right? So I get the combo box. It's giving me this pop-up as if it will want to work with me, but it's not, right? So I'm going to go look at the items property for the dropdown, and I'm going to paste that here. That way, right, I'm connected to the data source. And then I'm going to look up the name of this guy because I want to get rid of that, right? So I'm just going to delete it, get some errors popping it and screaming at me. And I'm going to rename this guy or the combo box to that name. Problem solved. Well, the errors that were popping up. I'm not sure if our main task has been resolved. Still not resolved. Okay. Which means there's some more work to be done. Troubleshooting 101. Even when you're developing your troubleshooting things. Gotta love it. All right. So if we stop and think about it, when this, so for instance, right, this form is in edit mode. It used to be in new mode. When the form is brand new, it's blank, right? So you're doing only data entry. But when the form is in edit mode, it means that it's pulling some data from the back end that you're going to edit. right? When that is happening, it means that all these fields have to um, display data from the backend. Okay. And the feature that does that, or the property that does that for you in this case, is not default. It is rather default selected items for your combo box. Okay. Now, it may have worked with the drop down, but I prefer the combo box. We can try the drop down as well. Um, except, hold on, I may have misspoke. Let's see here, drop down. Oops. So let's do an insert and a drop. Let's see if a drop down has a default selected. Uh, and so it doesn't, right? So I I don't want to say I couldn't, but in this case, it's not the best option, right? So this is development work. Pretty much anything is possible with development, but sometimes you just hit a brick wall. All right, so I'm going to go to my default selected items property of this combo box, and I'm going to type in parent dot default. Okay, and that basically pulls in the data from the data source. Okay, believe it or not. So now if I go to offshore dev and I say I want to edit this guy's permissions, I get exactly his role, here, him or her's role and display name. Right. So technically this functionality is resolved, right? I can change. So who is Elvis Presley? Well, I don't think I wired a delete, but again, I can turn Elvis number 2 into another administrator. Oh, big problem. We should not be able to select multiples, right? So we'll change that. I'm going to hit cancel. Elvis, this Elvis here, I want them to be a staffer. I'm going to select staffer and save changes. And voila, he turns into a staffer. I could have sworn, I could have sworn that I fixed this, right? So when we save changes, we want this whole screen to disappear. Well, not the whole screen, but the little pop-up. Again, we're already doing that on this button here. So not to reinvent the wheel, I just go and select it, copy the code. We're basically updating the context variable called var edit user pop-up to false, right? And how am I going to accomplish that? I am simply going to go here, put a semicolon after that first command, drop this over there, save it, hit cancel. I'll find another victim here, and it's going to be offshore dev. I'm going to turn offshore dev into a staffer. We go here. He's an administrator now. She's an admin. I'm going to turn them into a staffer and save changes, and boom, it's done. Our little pop-up disappeared, and we're good to go. I'm having a headache with this little form here, always defaulting to uh, no item display, right? So what I'm going to do is that when when the screen opens, right, when this screen becomes visible, sorry, when the screen becomes visible, I'm simply going to reset it. Okay. So it's going to be one of those things that gets done. So well, now that I'm not selecting any control, right? I'm just clicking on the screen itself. So I'm going to go in here and say on visible. When you're visible, always set this guy to always reset it. Ooh, no, really? So let's go back. Okay. Well, let's see if I'm right. I may, I might be right. Save changes. Yep. So every time the screen is visible, we're resetting this form we're resetting it, meaning we're clearing out its controls until you go in and actually do something like that, like actually manually start typing into it, and then it'll, oh, look at that. It's going back. This guy wants to start trouble this evening. Let's see, submit. Huh. Okay, so we didn't really, I could have sworn I pasted this code. All right, so we submit the form and then we reset the form. All right, let's try that again. Gotta love it. I'll do something different here. I'll do something different. We will run on start, shake up all the variables. Hopefully this works. We'll do another one and another. Okay. Hmm. Interesting. All right. Looks like it's solved, but I won't be surprised if it comes back and we will tackle it head on. Okay. Now we need to be able to delete items. Okay. And how do you delete items? If we go back here to our manage issue types, we can actually delete items. And if we look at our code, X, it's up here. If we look at our code, what is this saying? It's a remove command or function, data source name, comma, this item, right? So let's go try that on the other side. Okay. PowerFX is pretty straightforward and simple, but you still have to have the hang of it, right? So if we go to here, we don't want to do select parent anymore. We simply want to do a remove, okay? And roles is the name of our data source or data connection. This item, comma. Close the parentheses there. And let's see what we can delete. Let's get rid of this offshore dev. And just like that, it's gone, right? Let's remove Mr. Chris Beffor's staffer access. So basically, I want to whittle everything down to just three. So I'll say Chris is an admin, offshore dev is an admin, but Elvis is a staffer. So let's do that. So Elvis is a staffer. Yeah, I think we're good. I can get rid of that. And so now we have three, two admins and one staffer. So um, I think, yep, we've done enough for today. All right, manage issue types. We're able to, and we'll clean up this a little bit and do some more design work, but functionality is good to go, right? We're getting there. And I guess the next screen we'll be looking at in our next video will be the view cases screen. So we can actually click on a case, go look at it on a detail screen, right? If it's resolved, we want it to be not editable. If it's in draft mode, that means we have not submitted it. Then we should be able to edit and save it again and be able to come back tomorrow or 30 minutes from now and say, hey, I got all the data that I need and I'm going to submit it now, right? So we should have that functionality. And we should also, yeah, I think that's the requirements that was given to us, right? So once you submit it, yeah, so we'll have another status here that says submitted, right? So we have resolved in draft mode and actually submit it. So if it's once you submit it, it's being reviewed by the HR folks. They haven't done anything to it yet. Any notes they add to this record is not visible to you, the staffer, right? Which also brings to mind, we have to have a way to see, right, how you are logged in as. So we can say you are logged in as a blah, 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 right? So we'll work on that kind of access control component as well. So you'll be logged in as a staffer or an admin. one way or the other. So if you're an admin, you should see other, you should see stuff submitted by Chris before and offshore dev and Elvis Presley if you're an admin. But if you logged in as Chris before, you should see only items submitted by Chris before. If you logged in as Elvis Presley, then you should see only cases submitted by Elvis Presley. So stuff like that. We'll just have to keep pushing and complete that activity. But for now, we can manage our issue types. Okay. And we can delete our issue types. We can add new ones. We can also manage users. Sorry, we can edit users, have a nice little pop-up. We can delete users. We can add new users. All right, guys. So this concludes our video for today. And I'll be working on the next video probably sometime very soon in the very near future, because I want this app to be all the way to the very end, and then we get to start working on the Power Automate component and add some workflow mastery to the back end or the whatever you want to call it. Something to power this interface. I mean, you may have a very nice looking interface, but the thing has to work. Also, once you get on a screen, right, while I'm here on submit new case, this button should not really be in business anymore. You know what I mean? It should be kind of like, I don't want to say disabled, but it should not be clickable, because if I click it, it brings me back to itself. So it doesn't make sense, right? While you're here, everything should be clickable, but once you get on that particular screen, all the others should be clickable except that button itself. So something to work on. So again, as you can see, the look and feel matters a lot. You can have a very highly functional app, but if the users don't like the way it looks, you're in trouble. Some audiences might be forgiving and they'll say, well, it works. Eh. But then when the stakes are high, people want to look at something that is just wow, right? Pops. They look at it, it's like, yes, this is PowerApps. We're paying for this and we're getting something good out of it. All right. So yeah, design is a big deal. There's still more work to be done here. We'll make this look really nice. But yeah, that's our video for today, and I'll see you in the next video.